Most people don't think. They memorize, they copy, they repeat. Not because they're incapable, but because they were trained that way. Taught what to believe, not how to question. Told what's normal, what's true, what's safe. And the moment someone steps outside that script, they're labeled difficult, rebellious, dangerous. Because thinking for yourself has always been a threat to systems built on obedience. From the moment you were born, you were handed scripts. This is how you speak. This is what you wear. This is who you trust. This is what success looks like. And every time you followed the script, you were rewarded, approved, accepted. Not for thinking, but for mirroring. You weren't raised to think critically. You were raised to comply quietly. To ask how high when they say jump. To blend in, not stand out. And that's how the cycle survives. Not through control, but through comfort. One day you pause. Not because someone told you to, but because something inside you whispered, "This doesn't feel right." You start noticing the patterns. How people repeat ideas without understanding them. How opinions are recycled, like scripts handed down and regurgitated. You watch conversations turn into echo chambers. Disagreement feels like threat. Curiosity replaced by certainty. And in that moment you realize, most people aren't thinking. They're remembering. They're not awake, they're on autopilot. Thinking for yourself isn't about being smarter. It's about being braver. Because once you start thinking, you stop fitting in. You stop agreeing just to avoid tension. You stop nodding when your gut says, "This doesn't make sense." And suddenly you're not just outside the box. You're questioning why the box even exists. People won't like it. They'll say you've changed, that you're too intense, too skeptical, too complicated. But all you did was stop repeating and start remembering how to think. When you stop repeating, you start risking. Risking being misunderstood. Risking being alone. Risking being called crazy, difficult, arrogant. Because independent thought is dangerous to people who've never questioned their own. You're no longer looking for answers that fit neatly into someone else's system. You're willing to sit in uncertainty, to question your conditioning, to let go of the comfort of being right in exchange for the freedom of being real. And that's the price of thinking. You lose approval, but you find yourself. They don't have to lock you in a cell if they can lock you in a belief. If they can convince you that questioning is dangerous, that fitting in is safety, they don't need walls. They don't need chains. Most people are trapped not by force, but by fear. The fear of standing out. The fear of thinking differently. The fear of losing approval, status, belonging. So they repeat. Not because it's true, but because it's safe. And slowly the mind forgets how to be free. Freedom doesn't start with rebellion, it starts with awareness. The moment you notice the script and choose not to read it. The moment you catch the reflex and question it instead of obeying it. You don't have to burn the system down. You just have to stop living on autopilot. Stop repeating what you were handed without asking if it's even yours. Freedom isn't loud. It's quiet. It's a silent decision made every day. I'll think for myself, even if it costs me comfort. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you start living. When you stop repeating, you start creating. New thoughts, new paths, new ways of seeing the world. You stop asking, "What should I believe?" and start asking, "What actually makes sense to me?" You stop measuring your worth by how well you fit into old narratives. You start defining your life by your own values, your own truth. And for the first time, your mind becomes yours again. Not a mirror, not an echo, but a voice. A voice that doesn't need to be approved to be powerful. When you start thinking for yourself, life gets bigger and lonelier. Not everyone will come with you. Not everyone wants to question. Most people will cling to the comfort of repetition, even if it costs them their freedom. But you'll trade safety for truth, comfort for clarity, popularity for authenticity. Because once you taste real thinking, you can't go back. You can't pretend you don't see. You can't unlearn what you've realized. And yes, it's harder, but it's also yours. Your mind, your life, your freedom. Thinking for yourself often means standing alone. It means sitting in rooms full of noise and not echoing it. It means hearing everyone shout their certainty and quietly holding your own doubts. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's steady, and it's powerful. Because when you no longer need a crowd to feel sure of your path, you become unstoppable. You stop chasing validation. You stop apologizing for questioning. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces you've outgrown. You realize silence isn't weakness, it's mastery. When you think for yourself, you don't just free your own mind. You give others permission to question theirs. You become a mirror they didn't know they needed. A reminder that it's okay to ask, okay to doubt, okay to outgrow the stories they were handed. You won't always be liked for it. You might be misunderstood, criticized, mocked. But deep down, you'll awaken something in people. A small rebellion, a quiet curiosity, a spark they can't unsee. And that's real leadership. Not control, not dominance, but awakening. This is what real thinking feels like. Not safe, not simple, but free. You don't move because you're told to. You move because you choose to. You don't believe because it's popular. You believe because it's true for you. You question. You observe. You stay curious. You stay awake. You're not here to repeat the past. You're here to rewrite the future. Your future. Because most people don't think. They just repeat. But you remembered that thinking isn't rebellion. It's returning to who you were before the world taught you to forget.